So do you agree with their position here?
No, I think I agree with Secretary Hegseth. I think this was clearly intended to undermine the President of the United States. This was clearly intended to undermine law and order within the military ranks, military command structure. And he was right. Secretary Hegseth was right to punish Senator Kelly. I don't think you're going to see this resolved at this appeals court level. Two of the three judges, one was appointed by Biden, one was appointed by Obama. Obviously, they're left-leaning judges. I think ultimately the Supreme Court's going to have to make this decision. Speech is important when you're a military officer, and telling military service members, basically undermining the lawful orders by saying you can't follow illegal orders. Well, you know that. It was simply done as a political gesture to undermine the President of the United States. And I thought what John was said before the clip was interesting and thoughtful, in the sense that they asked him what illegal orders they were referring to, all of them, and none of them could reference a single illegal order from the President of the United States.
Right. It's it's a semantics game they're playing. They might not technically be saying don't listen to President Trump, but they're planting the seed of doubt in the minds of junior officers and enlisted men and women in the military, confusing them on what they should and shouldn't be doing. And this was right around the time of the Venezuela operation down there, and that was a specific question many times. Even Jake Tapper asked Mark Kelly specifically, what illegal orders are you referencing? And he could never say anything. We also had this federal judge back in February that ruled the Trump administration, quote, trampled on the First Amendment rights of Senator Mark Kelly and rebuked the efforts of the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, to punish him. In his ruling, U.S. District Court Judge Richard Leon wrote, quote, Secretary Hegseth relies on the well-established doctrine that military service members enjoy less vigorous First Amendment protections given the fundamental obligation for obedience and discipline in the armed services. Unfortunately for Secretary Hegseth, no court has ever extended those principles to retired service members, much less a retired service member serving in Congress and exercising oversight responsibility over the military. And given what we know about this court, they might not win here, but I think it's an important message to send to other members of Congress or anyone else who has a platform to reach our service members. They can't do this type of stuff, Congressman. It's not appropriate. You know, Alyssa Slotkin's a CIA officer, and a little psyop that she was running here could be very dangerous.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think by taking an aggressive action here, that this is not going to be tolerated, regardless of what happens in the court proceedings. Political people that are elected, like myself, enjoy the protections of the speech and debate clause. So these individuals are going to try to hide behind that this is protected speech under the speech and debate clause. But we have different responsibilities as military service members. He's lucky he still wasn't in the Guard or in the reserves or something, because he absolutely would have been punished under the UCMJ. But there is a different level of scrutiny of speech of military service members and those that are retired from the military service members, that the Secretary has jurisdiction over them. So it'll be curious to see. This will ultimately go to the Supreme Court, and it'll be interesting to see how they weigh military service officers and the speech and debate clause.
Yeah, well, to your point, John, the context and the timing of this video and the release of it is so important. Last November, Senator Kelly had this exchange with CNN's Dana Bash over the administration's military efforts against Venezuelan drug boats. Let's watch.
You mentioned that you are a captain in the Navy. If you received that order, would you have carried it out?
No. No, and I'm a guy who I have sunk 2 ships, but, you know, going after survivors in the water, that is clearly not lawful.
Okay, Congressman, do you believe the senator when he says he would not have carried out those orders from the commander-in-chief?
I don't believe that he would have, because he would have been court-martialed for refusing a lawful order. Those were terrorists and drug cartel members that have been designated terrorists that were bringing fentanyl and other drugs into our country, and absolutely had the rules of engagement to engage terrorists in international waters. So I don't think he would have. He's just talking strong and talking tough because he probably wants to run for president in 2028 and thinks anything that they do to stand against President Trump will put him on that platform. But ultimately, you're putting our military service members in a spot that could be dangerous, because you're having them question the lawful chain of a command, and you're having them question lawful orders. And at the end of the day, what they did undermines exactly what the president and the secretary have talked about. It undermines their authority as the commander-in-chief of our military.
Information, truth, is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.